Great, welcome. I was just saying, we should probably just get going as the others filter in, they filter in. I think, the last couple of meetings were, I was, pretty cognizant of going like long, you know what I mean? So as you notice, the agenda is a little shorter tonight, which I think is which is great. Most of it will be a subcommittee. So why don't we start,
Motion to open the meeting.
yeah, motion to open the meeting. I need you, thank you. Do
Make that motion to open the meeting.
we have a motion to open the meeting?
Yeah.
We have a second, Madam? Let's do right around the room.
Bob Donahoe. Warner, yes.
Carolyn Casey, yes. Kristen Zerini, yes.
Bob Healy, yes.
Lisa James, yes. Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Now that Aldridge, yes, present.
And Mike Schroeder, yes. Great. Did everyone get a chance to look at the draft meeting minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
Comments? Questions?
I have one little change on section 5. The very last bullet says, Ms. Casey suggested the select board should be updated. And actually, I wasn't suggesting it, I was just saying the bylaw states it. Just wanted to be clear. We can do it more how often we want, but it was just that the bylaw says that. So I just wanted it to maybe not say I suggested, but Ms. Casey stated the bylaw says.
Which it does. Which is a really good point. When was our first meeting?
February.
February 3rd.
Christine, maybe we could talk about, thank you for bringing that up. How is that done? Do I go to a select board meeting and update them? Okay. You want to just coordinate?
Yeah, I can do something.
Yeah, do you want to just help me coordinate that? And, thank you. All right. Any other comments, questions? I didn't have any myself, so I'll listen for a motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended by Ms. Casey.
Motion to approve.
We have this first,
Second.
second, great, we'll go around the room.
I don't think
Yes.
it's the minutes.
No.
It's opening and closing.
But do you have anybody participating remotely there tonight?
No,
Okay, you would need to do a roll call if you had anybody.
all right, so meeting minutes are approved, wonderful, thank you. I'll get this down eventually.
Do we vote?
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, we all voted. We don't have to do roll call, just all those.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
However, if you did have somebody participate.
Right,
remotely,
then you will. All these little.
I won't get it next time either. Yeah, I was looking for one, actually. I was hoping the public meeting would help me with that stuff. Okay, it all passed. I don't hear any abstains or objections, so great. All right, that was first order of business. Next one was the town meeting. I saw a bunch of you guys there. Thanks for supporting.
Positive outcome.
Yeah, so any thoughts on, I don't have anything really other than
Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
I was not present, but I did watch it on live television. And near the very end, the gentleman questioned the being able to use why can't we use some of the existing studies over? And I believe you actually gave a very good answer. I mean, as far as I know, a lot of the studies to some extent can be reused over. They just needed to be revised or updated, like an addendum. And one thing in particular, he talked about wetlands. So I'm just curious, has there been a detailed wetlands delineation ever performed, or was it all based on a GIS mapping system? That's the state does.
yeah, so I'll have to look back on the old documents that are on that website
I
that we
couldn't
distributed
find-
last time,
yeah.
but I believe just from memory is that there was a wetland study.
Oh, good.
And it was pretty extensive. And it was basically the options for the school last time, obviously, with Dale and Wheelock, and both locations sat in a similar wetlands area, if
Yep.
you will. So
Is
they
it
weren't in wetlands, but they were,
buffer zone?
they
maybe?
were in the Charles River Aquifer.
Oh, yeah.
Aquifer zone, or
So-
aquifer zone, whatever that terminology is.
Mhm.
I'm not a geologist, but something like that. So
Okay,
that's what
so,
I remember, but there was one done, yes.
so it's on the website, which,
That's correct. In Canada, that's something that can absolutely be reused, like 100%, doesn't have to be updated. It's like a survey you do to your house,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
if you have it done once, you have a plot plan, you can reuse that. That's how I understand those to be done.
pretty much, yeah.
So that was done. I think some of the comments we got were, obviously a couple questions and, but I kind of appreciated the questions. So we kind of
Mhm.
started the conversation
Exactly.
more than anything else. But yeah, I was happy the town voted, and put the trust in us to, give us some funds to, God forbid, we ran out of the 250 we have now. I think it's nice. Any other comments, questions, thoughts?
I think like to these. To the point, like I spent. An hour going back through all the old documentation and. It's kind of hard to follow the trail in terms of like I took away two things from going through the documentation and also kind of dovetails with some of the comments were like, why don't you just go do this? It's like. There's a trove of information, like some of it's hard to follow. Like Mike, I don't know if there's like a Cliff Notes like way to bring, and whether it's you or whether any of the old committee members want to. Come present. I know we're not trying to rehash the past, but just like draw the map of like what was done previously. And here's the documentation. Like could be helpful for us. Like I went back, it's the minutes one day was like, these are the 12 sites under consideration. And the next meeting was like, all right, here are the two schematic, the two sites with like 3 options each for Dale and Wheelock. I'm like, how'd you get from 12 to 2 and
Sure.
what disqualified the other ones? And like,
Yeah.
I think like that, like just a factual starting point of like, this is what we found, this was subjective, this was objective. Like these are hypotheses you can revisit if you wanted to.
Mhm.
I don't know, for me it could be helpful. It's just like you guys did so much work.
Yeah,
And I don't know how
so
to get that brain dump. I think would be helpful for everybody without kind of. Going back without rehashing past, I guess.
it's not a bad idea. I can work on that.
Cheat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of like,
Cliff notes.
Yeah, I
there
mean,
was some farm on Phillip Street that was referenced and like,
correct.
I don't know where it is. What is like, is it our land? Is it somebody else's land?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is it like, could I reuse it or not? Like, why was it disqualified? Like,
Sure.
I was thinking that it might help because I think that we have a lot of these questions about many different pieces of the project, like the wetlands and then what buildings were considered and. So I was wondering if maybe we should sort of make a list of some big questions we have. And then prioritize, and then maybe at the next meeting you pick 1 or 2, and one might be, what were the sites considered?
Sure.
And then we could spend time on that, and the next one might be, the wetlands of the study. Do you know what I mean, just to sort of.
Yeah.
Put some order.
yeah, I agree. I think we gotta get to like an order of operations of like. You got the threshold questions here, the kind of supplemental questions.
Yeah.
So
food for
absolutely,
thought,
and
yeah.
no, absolutely is the answer, but I guess to go back. Do you think survey we've been discussing would help clarify and get some of those topics of not so much like dollars and cents, but maybe site selection, okay. If that's a big option and if that's something that matters to the town so much, is that something that, okay, I should tell you what we did last time for 10 minutes and then at least have an understanding where we stood.
Right.
But yeah, Bill, so
Yeah, not like, yeah, I guess thread the needle between like, this is where we stood and why, but versus just factual, like,
yeah,
I don't know, it's.
the cadence of what happened there. Yeah, so it was a while ago, but that said, that specific issue of having 6 sites and getting down to 2 was pretty easy. And that really came down to like 6 large things, and that was like traffic on Phillips, things like that. It was like, we can't do that at all. Wetlands was one, it was all wetlands, and that we can't build there. But yes, stuff like that is easy enough. I was also thinking it's a little premature, but at some point, just a timeline. You know what I mean? I have it in my head. I've looked at what we've done in the past, so I think that'll be helpful to talk through too. Others of you have gone through building projects as well. Just like, hey, December is really the start of our timeline, right? Or, you know, whenever we hear from MSBA, we probably have an inkling before that. But really, some sort of a timeline for us so that we can start picking off big bites of this apple one at a time.
As long as we're talking about big questions, I know the one that sort of looms for me is, you know, if I think about like flow chart, you know, need a new school. What's not clear for me, and I don't know if it was ever definitively said by an expert, is whether or not the rehabilitation of Dale was ever even is on the table. Like, did someone come in and say, it can't happen, you know, for XYZ reasons, that is not an option. You will need to build a new building. Because I think in some people's minds, that is still like, is that an option that's on the table, or did that get taken off the table for some very particular reasons? I mean, some of us might who've been to Dale a lot have an opinion, but
Yeah.
I'd like to know factually, is that even an option that could be pursued? And if not, just so we understand, like, okay, we're on the no chart now. Now let's follow the new building situation, you know?
I do. I have an opinion. But I don't think it's off the table.
During the site selection process, which you performed, so I used to call it, or we called it a fatal flaw analysis. You
Yeah.
have several sites and you go through a list and see, you know, what's good about that particular site and what's bad, and you just weigh all your options out. And that's what it sounds like what you folks did. You just called it something different.
So I'll be candid too, the last time we did this, most of it wasn't done, most of it was done by our OPM group and the architect. So,
Good.
that'll probably change as far as, yeah,
A little bit.
the players in the room,
Mhm.
especially this room. So when, as a member of the committee, it was presented as these are the sites, and then like the fatal flaw analysis was already done. You know what I mean? So we have little to rebut on, like, you know, the data wasn't quite presented to me.
Mhm.
Or us for that matter. So I think everything's on the table, including a rehab, even though personally, I think that would be a big mistake just because I know the shape of the building and being in construction, it's,
And there's always the unknowns.
there's a lot.
Even though you might have done some work on it, some studies, there's always unknowns for a site that old, dating back to 1942 and even through the 60s when they were saying the EPA wasn't even involved back then. Wasn't, when EPA came back in 1973, 75, something like that. So there's still a lot of unknowns underground, let alone above grade.
We will rehab a JCPenney and work and it costs 5x more than anything. I think that's the one that's in behind the walls, what's given them.
Can I ask a super silly question? Like, was it ever explored just to knock Dale Street down and rebuild right there?
Briefly. I believe the steps, the front steps and the, you know, pillar like was important to some people, whether that have been historical society or whatever it may be.
Those pillars are coming down on their own someday.
Yeah.
Well, they're almost there now. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's actually some money that we need to redo to fix those now.
It's an interesting question, is none of it salvageable at all, and then, but you could use the site.
That's what I'm saying. The site
Build a
selection.
new, you know,
Sure.
I know the left part can all go down, the cafeteria and modular, all
Yeah.
that. And then if you build new, then, but I'm not sure about the other part, what, like, you know, the columns and things, what is usable or not worth it, or, you know.
I mean, we've done some crazy things where I've seen brick facades being kept 100% intact,
Right.
and that's it.
That's it,
And you
right.
build everything else new, you know what I mean? And that was like the city of Boston requiring because of the historic function, you know, so really anything's possible, including reuse of some of the building, I'm sure. When I say some, that might be 5%, right? That would be a builder and an architect to really go through. But I think, my opinion is everything's on, including ripping the whole thing down, including keeping it there, whatever it may be, you know what I mean? I think that has to be our responsibility to explore all the options. That's just how I feel about it.
Was the cost of like associated with tearing down the building and like getting rid of asbestos remediation and those type of things, was that built into the cost of the project?
Yeah.
Or, so those are like fixed costs, whether it's a rehab or a tear down, right? Like asbestos remediation, I mean, it's probably over $1 million in.
I mean,
like
it's not anything except when if you know you're just tearing everything down, you don't test. You just do it and get rid of it, you know.
But it still needs to be.
I still do.
approved, Right?
Still,
Yeah, it still needs to be
like,
abated.
You're not going
Okay.
piecemeal, I'm like, what are we keeping?
Right,
what are we not
right.
keeping?
That's right.
But there's still an associated cost with,
Yeah.
Yeah, some of
gotta-
that
you
was
gotta-
figured in,
you gotta-
and I'm gonna forget the figures, in the rehab, option was smaller, didn't fit, certain criteria for classroom sizes, things of that nature.
Yeah.
We didn't have lockers, like all that stuff,
yeah,
but that was a less expensive option than what was presented to the town. I didn't agree with those numbers, but that was just an opinion, because again, I just know what old buildings are like to work in. And how change orders, crack up, everything looks good on paper, until something happens.
I do. I just wonder whether like that like threshold question informs people's point of view in terms of how we move forward. Like, if in my mind it does, but I don't know if people feel the same. That to your point, like, if it has to get scraped either way, does that change your opinion on? Like, as ultimately as like, one to change your opinion too, like, I think also just getting the facts out there in
Mhm.
terms of like, hey, like, we're gonna have an open meeting, the architect or whoever we hire is gonna present the why and how, this can be saved, this can't.
Sure.
We just want everybody to have the same starting point that we have. Because it would ultimately inform how we think about everything.
Exactly. Any other comments on the town meeting? I had one, and it actually didn't pertain to, the warrant article for this committee, but, someone made a good point in regards to, public hearings and how that they were important to have. I think as this committee moves forward, and as we've already started, like, I think that we need to be cognizant that that's kind of like, although we tried last time, and I'll tell you, we tried, we didn't do a good enough job of getting the word out there because they tended to well. So I think we need to be cognizant of that moving forward, of like, hey, it just reminded me when we started this whole thing, so we're gonna be open, we're gonna do our best, like you said just now, Bill, it's like, get everyone, this is where we're all starting, and make sure everyone knows that. That would be, I took that away a little bit, that like, hey, and I don't, in the, the context of what was said at the town meeting, I didn't necessarily agree, but I think for this committee specifically, we should be cognizant that that's gonna be the prior, we'll never get a pass vote. People feel like we did something that was
Think
behind
about
closed doors,
the milestones of the decision though, where people are gonna start to care. So for me, like, and Dale be rehabbed or not is like the first thing that I think you gotta get the community up to speed on. And then if the answer, let's pretend the answer is no, you're looking at building a new school. Then it's the location of that school. And then if you can get, now you're past that, and now it's the footprint and the, expense and the cost and the size of the school. Like, it's almost like what are the gates where we start to lose the community? And for me, it's like, those are them. And maybe there's others, I don't know, the survey could influence what those should be. But, if we could get someone to give us like their unbiased architectural opinion about the ability to rehab, and then we can put that in front of the community, and then we can all together move on to the next thing. And if we lose anybody behind,
You mentioned the flow
we
chart.
tried.
The flow chart would
Yeah,
call it, Gantt chart or whatever you want to call it.
right.
I think another one is the MSBA. That decision, that's a good opportunity to kind of like
Yeah.
circle the wagons and, all right, what do you think?
That's probably our starting point.
Yeah.
And I think an architect or OPM will help develop that. And we can start some of that, and I implore us to. I think we should start some of those questions and getting some opinions on those matters, so we can inform whoever we hire. I will say the rehab of Dale, in my opinion, I don't regardless to that committee we have or not, doesn't mean it's the best spot for our school necessarily.
Agree, yeah,
You know what I mean?
right,
So,
but it's just whether or not it like, if it's off the table entirely,
sure.
then at least we can all like move forward with that. If it stays, it obviously complicates the issue, right? But that's where I was unclear, like, is there a reason it's just off the table and we shouldn't allow people to even continue to think in that world if it's not even an option, right?
Anything's doable, that's the thing, like that.
Don't tell me that all the time, I still don't get it.
Anything's possible, I promise you that,
You get
it's
the money.
just, it may be more time, it may be more money, you know, so, again.
Yeah.
But those are the answers to the question, not necessarily yes or no.
And I think that one thing I heard at the town meeting, people are still back in the other project in the vote. So obviously, people haven't sort of could leave that behind and start with this is a new committee, and I think that's on all of us with the public hearings, open meeting, the newsletters, or whatever we do is to say, understood, but we're new, we're moving on. We want you with us in
Mhm.
terms of helping us make decisions and not get stuck back arguing what went right or what went wrong.
And
You know,
Another quick little issue is basically on fatal flaws, everybody wants to go net zero. Wonderful thing, great thing. It isn't always doable on a specified space. At least over at the Wellock School area, there's plenty of space, probably, I'm sure, to meet net zero standards. I don't know if anyone's looked at net zero situation at the existing Dale.
Don't believe we did.
Yeah, and personally, I don't know if you could meet net zero standards over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, just along those same lines, and I'm gonna blank on her name, but she did introduce herself to me at town meeting. And she is the chair of the Medfield Energy
There isn't anything.
Sustainable Committee.
Yes.
And she just like, she would love the opportunity to present to us at some point. And I said, it's been
Really?
short at this
really
point.
feels-
Yeah, and I said, great, that's absolutely the type of committee that we want to hear from. And, along with that, net zero comes lots of different things that follow, not just costs. And space requirements, but also certain buildings and, do you want to go to chapter 149A instead of 149 at that point? Because then you pick your general contractor who has experience doing this, where many of them don't have experience doing net zero. So there's things like that that are in consideration that there's pros and cons to all, of it, right? So anyways, at some point, they'll be presenting to us in short, because I think it's important for us to hear. That's pretty much all I had from the town meeting and the warrant article passing. I expected some questions. I thought that was fine. But we got it through. I think that's good for us as a group. At least we have, a quorum of the town that was at town meeting to say, hey, yeah, look, we gotta do this again. So that was, I don't know, optimistic, maybe a little bit more optimistic, which is good.
I think that what I took there is that even the naysayers of where the location is, where everybody is under the same mind of we need a new school. And I took that away as like, awesome. Yeah, even the people that have questions, even the people that want to answer are still, of the mind that we still need a new school. So. Yes, at least that validates me being here.
That should be the first thing on the flow chart.
Yeah, that's actually the first one. Do we need a new school? Yes or no? That is definitely number
We need a
one.
new school. I think that.
Okay, good. How about communication subcommittee update?
Yes, so after we all met at school last time, the communications committee met and we turned those questions into a formal survey that Teresa is going to share. Give you a look-see at it. And then after we sort of look it over, then the next part is, okay, how do we get this out to as many people as we possibly can?
Yeah. I think you guys have some good ideas on that. So we'll go through those next.
we kind of were going two ways with it, interesting. First, we were looking at community groups that we could each take in contact. And then we were talking about, well, that or just emailing it to all your friends in Medfield and asking them to please forward it with this link. And just, web it out, right? Just give it to 10 friends and each one of them give it to 5 and,
Something bad happen to you if you don't send it home to 10 people.
yeah.
Did you talk about going through, yeah, maybe we talked about this, going through like the PTOs?
We did, we actually started
Oh.
a chart. We started.
You take 3 days off.
started with groups. And then we did that, and all of a sudden we sort of went to, you know what, maybe there's a faster, more efficient way, including municipal, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we were kind of going back and forth between those two ways to get it out. We didn't reach a conclusion, we just sort of wanted to share them. So that we can do both, I'm not saying we couldn't do both. But
I think the PTOs are like a high yield. I mean, you're instantly getting like 80 to 90% of the elementary, at least elementary population. Of families.
Right, but then, absolutely, but the piece was, we need to get it out beyond the school, right?
Right.
So then it was, okay, what if people aren't in group, but who's in group, and that kind of stuff, and so.
But
So it might need to be too.
And we did spend quite a bit of time reflecting on the town meeting and what was said, and does this first survey, is it getting to what we wanted to know, right? So as we go through it, take that, keep that in mind, like, are we asking what we really want to know? So we start off with an introduction. Of course, nobody would say switch account or anything like that. And Robert, I apologize, my email to you was in draft, so.
Well, it's okay. As soon as you get it to me, I'll
Yeah.
come up with something.
Yeah, so what it does is, we could ask Robert to help with like an image right here at the top, and it's just like a little bit in there.
Yeah. That we would use on everything, so when people see it, they say, oh, I know, that's the school building committee, with little masthead,
Little branding.
yeah, little branding. Yeah. We
So-
meant to have it for you tonight, but a little miscommunication.
The school building committee has been formalized to study and advise the town regarding the new renovated elementary school building. Your input is vital to this process. The SBC will seek your feedback in short surveys, conversations, meetings, etc. as we embark on this journey. This first survey will inform the SBC of your perspective on the prior proposal and what is currently important to you as the new process begins. The survey is anonymous unless you choose to identify yourself and then open comment questions. So just like a quick intro. And, we just kind of said, okay, let's dive right on in. Okay, what was your position from the May 2022 town meeting? November 21.
I kept wondering about that. We were
Yeah.
trying to, I thought it was November.
Well, because
It was a
last year
Sunday.
was the bylaw committee, and the bylaw committee came after.
I thought it was.
Sundays, if you just send the pictures of plan. If I remember right.
Yeah,
I'm not in edit mode, so I'll go back and fix that.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling that.
You're right.
And kind of, which statement best describes your position on the paragraph. We did, I think somebody made a comment about we still kept them as a little bit statements, but we took out a little of the extra words and tried to make them shorter statements, but it's still kind of, you're making a statement by selecting one of these options.
Okay.
And we do have a place there for obviously somebody to give their other opinion. And then this question here, please rank these considerations from your viewpoint as the SBC evaluates future plans for the Dell Street School. So we didn't stay on the past or talk about other options or things like that. Let's go straight into what the future's hold for us. And what is important to you in making that decision? Not important to extremely important. This question actually is randomized. So when you take it, Michelle, your list is different than my list as far as an order,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to us.
Just question on the wording.
Yeah.
When we refer to Dale Street, do we want to just say like
Yeah.
new elementary school or
That's a good
something
point.
along those lines?
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I want us to be writing these down since you're not in.
I think that's an overall concern for the whole how we approach
Yeah,
everything too.
yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
what are the, and I don't know.
Full
the
of
answer.
the focus on
I mean, it may end up very well be,
New school, rebuild Dale.
you know,
School.
and like,
Right.
maybe there's a new name that comes along, because,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it's Warner School, because he wants to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, naming rights.
Yeah, exactly.
Medfield School sponsored by
That's-
BJ's.
No, we did actually talk about that a lot in terms of getting the nomenclature right in the words. So like even this like, I mean, maybe it's too dumb, but like future, like what are we working on the future plans for the current Dale Street School?
I mean, elementary.
Like,
It's a new elementary.
Well, yeah, no, you could read that, and I didn't read this at our meeting last week, but right now when I read it. I could read that as, oh, you're gonna build a school somewhere else, and what do you want me to do with Dale School?
Well, that's how I actually read it the first time,
Ah.
and then obviously I recognized what,
And that's not what we
questions.
wanted, we really wanna know, what are the considerations for a new school?
so
A new or renovated?
I kind of liked how you put it in the opening
In the
paragraph,
opening
where you
paragraph.
said
We just
new
need
slash renovated elementary school.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
just need
so
to carry that.
if you just carried that
Carry it
forward,
through, yeah.
and then we should maybe talk about, and I'm happy for you guys to suggest it to the whole group, but like. If you're working on a banner, that's gonna be kind of. Us going forward in representation of the committee and the process. We wanna have. Like elementary school projects. Like something just,
Generic.
you know, generic, but like,
Pretty.
you know, yeah, I mean, but that's kind of boring too, but that doesn't mean it's not right, it just means that, I don't know. We wanna like brand it, cause. Recognize a lot. Go ahead.
nah, I'm laughing, I'm like, not to take the work off your plate, but like, give it to the kids at Dale Street. to decide what they'll think the concept is.
Yes.
That sounds bad.
Why is that? That's not funny at all.
No, I know, it's,
Perfect.
I was funny in that, but it's also the end of the school year. Like,
Yeah, they have plenty of art classes left, it's fine. One class could do, they'd come up with 23 of them, we pick. I think that would be cool.
Sponsor a $25 gift card to Park Street Books. So,
Yeah.
Matching BJ's.
Yeah, man. Bob's like, I'm in.
Hey, can I go?
Yeah, okay. How many times can we,
Elementary
Just a bit.
So this list of considerations was longer. We did shorten it up and kind of consolidated a couple. So let's run through them, see if educational programs, location, construction, disruption to students' education, community benefits, environmental sustainability impacts, historic preservation, cost, facility size, state funding, MSBA, school building committee process, enrollment projections. And that was the list.
So process one. So, sorry, sorry, back up to how it's phrased again. Yeah, just.
School building committee process.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if it fits with the rest of that list somehow. I know what you're trying to get at, but like, these are all like attributes of the project.
That might feel like a separate question.
That's an interesting thought. We do have a later question about other ideas for engagement. So maybe.
And we can
somehow
add the
in
process into
and
that.
presence engagement. That's.
So let's
This kind of brings up a point, like, almost all of these have to do with like,
the building.
the build, yeah, the project.
And that one's
And that's
about how you get to the road.
That's right.
So maybe it's not a bad idea. So our last question is anything else, but before that, we put another question. But I would keep it open.
Yeah, open.
Do you have any input on this, how you would like the school building process to be or go or whatever the appropriate word?
35 characters.
That's right. Don't like any more than 35 characters.
So,
I mean, you can take it out, like, cause, right, I guess it's like what. One of the things we talked about was that you want things to be action, right? And if, like, people say the process is not important, like, it's not like we're gonna do anything different. I'd say it is important, we know, yeah, we obviously know it's important, so.
We're already operating under the assumption it's important.
Oh, yeah, I think it's number one for this room, you know what I mean, so.
What if, at a later survey, we asked about, how do you think the new school committee process is going.
Yeah, or what's the best way to engage you?
Yeah.
But I would stay away from that.
That's the question.
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
What's the best way to engage?
Yeah,
Like, we're trying to just like, this is kind of crawl, walk around, like, this is like
Mhm.
crawling out of the starting gate, so.
I see that, I agree that those are attributes of the building, but I still think. And as much as we don't want to rehash what happened last time, there was a lot of criticism about the process specifically, and if that is something that led people to vote no, I think it's important to understand now. That that's still something that's important to them, because we're asking them to rank it, right, 1 through 5. We're gonna be able to take this and look and say like. People were actually more concerned about these 5 things in the process, or we're gonna be able to say the process is really important to everybody, and that came in at number 2. And I think that's important. I understand that that's what we're gonna take, but I think it's important for us to understand how the community is prioritizing these.
Would we get the same result if it was a separate question?
I don't know.
well, we wouldn't in terms of the ranking. So you might get some feedback or people might skip it. We had some are required questions and some are not.
Mhm.
And this one is a required. So it is interesting because then you would be ranking it according to other things. And if it always came out, this is what people cared about. That gives you a whole nother look about the whole thing. That,
Yeah,
I mean, you really voted no because of the process, you know, in the end, that's very different than I voted no because I didn't, the cost was too much, I didn't like the location.
Sure.
We're not asking them why they voted no. I mean, you're inferring that they voted no because these things might be important to them, but the question is do you know what I mean? Like they're,
What we should think about
yeah.
to go forward.
So let's just table that for a moment and get through the rest of the questions and come back to see how we think we got our. So with the ranking questions, there's not an option to have just an other with that, so that's why we followed up immediately with
Yep.
what other 2 top considerations are also important from your viewpoint that were not listed above. And then we go kind of a little bit more into just some general demographics to understand what is the audience that we're reaching and how we, canvassed wide enough a diverse audience. So we ask about their relationship to the public schools. We ask that, just, hey, we're thinking of facility tours, which would you like to see or attend? And Bill, to your question, right now, I'm just like, okay, maybe that's a question we post on the next one. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be on the very first one.
Yeah.
Right? The SBC will publish our learnings on the town website. Are there any topics you'd like to hear more about, questions you have, or feedback at this time? We'd like to know where they learned about the survey from, because we want to kind of gauge the effectiveness of the outreach. And these were the different kind of things that we were thinking about for the outreach. The town website, obviously, Patch Hometown Weekly, social media, the neighbor, school communication, local business flyer. And so on.
School communication may not be possible.
We didn't know, and that's why why couldn't it go in the like?
I don't know,
weekly
Jeff
emails?
wouldn't send out anything for us last time.
You
Now that, a lot of those,
wouldn't send out an email, but this could be included in like a weekly email that comes.
so I don't know that.
Could
You
it be
can't-
in a flyer for the children to bring home?
You can't use money in the school to advocate for things, right?
Yep.
So we're not advocating to vote yay or nay, that you can't, you have to be very neutral, the school to be neutral. And I don't think we're doing that here, I think we're just asking information. Yeah, and we're not using. It's on the school website, we're not using their materials, not like running off copies of it.
Yeah, it's
Christine,
just,
am I right?
I try not to comment on the school committee side, that's up to the.
Yeah.
Like we would post it on the.
I'll double check with Jeff, but I don't see why this specific thing couldn't be.
I think
There's,
this
like,
one,
packets
it's
on it.
different if you were saying,
That's good.
this is coming up, please vote, if you started advocating, like, please vote for coming up to town. meeting,"
yeah.
Then you're in bad
You
area,
get to the override issue,
yes, yeah, then you
but for
can,
this, I would have never.
Yeah, I mean, that Thursday email, there's PTO stuff, there's, all the other groups have like different.
Send out
Yeah,
their
yeah.
weekly updates.
yeah.
And then we wrapped up with thoughts on how the school building committee can increase future survey participation. Or maybe this is, should be a little bit just about engagement.
So if you step way back, right, like, what are we gonna get out of this? You're gonna get a little bit of a cut by demographic in terms of, I have kids in school, I don't have kids in school, I used to have kids in school. And then a cut by like how they voted, like yes, no, like didn't vote. And then what's most important then? So you'll be able to say, what's most important to the no voters, what's most important to the yes voters?
Yeah.
What's most important to the people that used to have kids in school, what's most important to kids that have young kids who haven't been to schools yet? And like, as a starting point in terms of how we think about communication, like, and ultimately how we think about strategy in terms of what topics we address when, I think like, that's what this ultimately collects and brings back for us to kind of say, all right, as we start to develop a plan, like, how far off were we really, like, do you need to address certain things with different populations? Do you need to, like, right, it just starts to inform how we think about comms, but then also how we think about like the strategy in terms of what we attack when, and we, how hard we need to communicate on certain.
Well, we're to invest on communication, you know. Yeah.
Or, yeah, I mean, really want to focus on, yeah, I mean, it'll help us prioritize. I don't know if the tour one is relevant at this time.
Yeah, I'm thinking just to stay with being short,
I also don't,
we could take that.
Table that.
you know, hey guys, thanks for wearing name tags.
Just to keep your double.
I say we table.
And then, you know, on top of that, like. I'm not sure, like, on tour of the high schools is relevant. Things are, you know.
That was a little bit of a throwaway, just to kind of gauge engagement. And again,
Yeah,
I
it
think,
wasn't required.
I think across like. The reason why that question is in there is specifically to understand people who are not in the schools yet and people who used to be in the schools. Like, do they not have a familiarity with the fiscal climate, and do they have an interest in getting it? So that's why we kind of slotted it in.
But we have lots of time.
Yeah. And then maybe we're neighbor, like / friend, might be a good one too, just because, I think a lot of this, you know, like I'll share this with with Medfield people that have to say, can you guys take this, that I know in kids in the school, but I'll send an email out. Right?
I was thinking it too, yeah, / friend, because it was like, wait, I have a friend that's not an either.
Yeah, just so I don't have to write other, can you go to the bottom, thanks? Go down, is that the last one?
That's the last, and
Do you
then
want to ask them if you'd like to provide your email address? For future communications?
well, technically, I mean, what we want them to do is to go sign up alerts.
I know.
On the website to get those communications so that we can utilize the website to post our newsletters and communications.
So I
And so
agree.
what we want to do here, and you didn't get time to develop this out a little bit more, is that I almost want to break this into sections and you land on a thank you page and have a link to go sign up for alerts or whatever. And we don't want to, actually, the thank you needs to come after you submit to a thank you page. So we have a little work to do at the bottom, but you're exactly right. We wanted to.
Yeah, so I agree. As far as that's the preferred method. If I got this, not being involved, I would probably take it. And especially if it told me at the beginning if there was a domain survey, like that's the best type, you know what I mean? It'll take you less than 2 minutes to complete this. So we might want to mention something like that. But I would never send that to the others. Because I don't want more emails.
And then you wouldn't fill in your email.
Well,
Right.
I might, it's an easier ask for me to fill in my email address than it is to go to a website and click, and it's not. When you go to that website to click, you gotta actually filter through, because I just did it after our last meeting. You gotta actually filter through which meetings you want to sign up for. It's a little bit, there were like lots of options.
A lot of old things that aren't like
Without the email address, and then come to you with a list and I'll sign them for you.
Good, I feel more comfortable then actually doing that. And then you have reverse getting it by email and or text.
You know, see, like, so if I could click on that link and it brought me right to a page that said opt-in type email address, no big deal. It doesn't really do that. It's wasn't super cumbersome, but it took me a couple minutes at least to figure out. Because there was school committee, school building committee, like, so there was, I don't know.
We could be explicit in that, like, click this link and then subscribe to the thing called. You know, we can, really show you exactly what it is.
Doesn't the survey automatically collect email addresses?
No, that's kind of the point. I think it was saying it was anonymous.
Yeah. They could have, but we chose.
Which I think is great. I think that's fine too. So what's our other fear, right? Miley's gonna take this 15 times. Right? Does that, you know what I mean? Right? Like that's one thing we need to be at least cognizant of. At least.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Is
Think it
there a
could-
way to, if you take it on, even if you don't collect?
I think there is a setting
I
that
think there's a
does,
setting, right?
yeah, but then it uses like your IP address.
Yeah, and it doesn't want,
And I think if we can do it, we'll do it. If we can't, like,
Either way, we want the
Yeah, I
information.
mean,
I'm just like,
meet people where they are, like, it's, you know, if they want their information, they're gonna get it, they're gonna figure it out, if not, they're not.
so we'll do submit, then we'll take to a page, thank you, and then maybe we can have something that says, if you want to. Here's the link to keep up to date on what the school building committee is doing. And even though I want to support the town and the other departments, let's just do ours, and then when they get there, they can see that. They can also do other links. It's pretty clear you can.
So going back to two questions, going back to having school building committee process as one of those considerations. Because to your point, this is what's going about the engagement. Do we need to
I mean,
pull that out still, or?
I don't hate it, but I could take it away.
yeah,
I think you should do
alright, done.
Yeah.
it, because you're at least good ranked.
Yeah.
If it's.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
If we get all ones, then we know it's.
Yeah.
The, you can take it out because it's not gonna change dramatically. You can leave it in because you get a sense of this. If it cuts differently for different people.
I also don't think it massively matters to us because we all think it's. So,
Maybe an other choice on the first question, I was struggling with what. Other option we would have. On the first question, sorry Teresa about that. One about how they voted.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I thought just it did not.
it was,
Right, but then there's no other, I'm sort of not sure what.
didn't vote.
Right, but we
Yeah,
have
that's
that,
better than
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, let's just kill that.
I don't.
No, yeah.
How does it?
Why is that?
I think one of the things I was really cognizant of doing this is that like. There'll be plenty of time for open response, like. Anyway, these meeting people show up and give us feedback if they really want it, like.
Yeah.
I don't want, our first survey, I don't want anonymous books on like,
Mhm.
like,
The only other option that comes to mind to me is. I did not vote, and then everything else assumes that I knew about it. So there's not an option to say,
I was not aware.
I didn't feel informed enough, or I didn't, you know.
I will say this, but on the other, what I hear from my neighbors is. I wanted to vote, but the timing of the vote was not. It did not fit, so I don't know if you're gonna get that kind of feedback, like. It was not, I couldn't, it was not conducive to my lifestyle.
Could the other be, if you did not vote? Please tell us why.
Sure, sure.
Maybe that could be the other. If you did not vote, okay, please tell us why. Like, I wasn't informed, I couldn't make the meeting,
Putting the kids to bed.
I was
or whatever,
confused.
you know.
Yeah. Whatever the case is.
Can you limit the response characters? I say that because
well, that's what we thought.
this is the point where you get the novels and go.
Yeah.
And I'm not that I'm not interested in them, but I'm not interested in them right now.
That's where we're at on that.
So if you wrote other/comment and gave them a sentence to write, that'd be great. 60 characters, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like something along those lines. It's more than fine.
we're saying that we're gonna share this, right? The results of the survey.
Yeah.
We're sharing it no matter what somebody writes there. I mean,
We did say if people's names were mentioned, Rachel, that would be, yeah.
I mean, if there was like profanity, I don't know if we should have
Yeah.
published it, but.
anything else though? Like, what about something that's like misleading?
Again, I think that's why we're trying to, again, like, don't take this as like, I'm not interested in feedback. In like our first of what will be hopefully many surveys,
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
I just want the basics, so like. And I also want to start a process where we're gonna be transparent with results.
Maybe we have to address, maybe we have to address the other concerns, maybe we have to actually call them out and talk about.
What do you think
know,
it's-
if somebody writes the world is flat. and
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that when you say that you're gonna, like, we need to be prepared to share whatever people write there, right? So like, whatever it is. I have no idea saying that. I'm just
Yeah,
kind of opening it up. I think that, yeah, whatever it is gonna be good information, but if we're saying from the forefront that we're gonna share it, then I think we need to stick to that, whatever it is.
do we say we're gonna share it?
So that's
Share the
That does,
information.
okay.
Yeah, typically, I mean, I don't, in all of our, in the higher processes I've gone through, we typically always. The results of this without commentary was an appendix to something at some point, right? And you're right, this gets posted as the results.
That's
So it doesn't have.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna come back and discuss it this meeting. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be public.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's just share it. I mean, other,
So
you know what, even if it's ridiculous, so what? So at least we know that that's how someone felt.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
And if we come back and we only get 10 results, we'll share that and we'll say. We need to understand better how to get the survey. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is an important topic.
It's just data.
and then everybody else in the community should know that too. I mean, that's. That's what this is about, so.
So the other question is. Going back to my very first question, then, are these the right questions? And still feel like these are the right questions? And is there something that we're,
So I'm of the opinion that this list could be 50 lines long. The main ones, in my opinion, and again, this is just me speaking, are educational. Location, community benefits, costs. MSBA, which kind of goes into cost, right? So once you get those, I think.
I think you have a good list, and I like that you allow people to put their own things, and that's right, you did there, because I think that's where you're gonna see any trends that maybe were missed in regards to this list, right?
Yeah, you do.
The themes will bubble up there.
Yeah, there's something, right.
That'll be the best.
You get 400 responses, you're gonna do a word cloud, all right, you mentioned,
Yeah.
86 times.
Right.
And since we now have Jackie, we could ask, is this something that could be shared in the school? And allow the survey to go out. Absolutely.
So did we agree we were gonna kill the visit question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to go over the,
and then can we just,
So remove the short.
do we wanna, we kind of asked these two questions. The SBC will publish our runnings and, you know, do you have any more questions or feedback at this time? Do we also still want to ask, sorry, off my hotspot, it's really slow. The last question is thoughts on how the school building committee can increase future survey participation. Do we want to just see how this one goes, or do we want to really try to solicit that right now? Do we want to?
I think it's a quickie when you leave it there. So
Yeah.
they're-
I think so.
They don't have an idea, they don't.
Yeah, they need a black, they need a plan.
All right,
Because that's a lot of what we're looking for, is getting responses and how do you get responses.
Yeah.
That's one of the big ones in this one.
so if we're meeting next Tuesday, so if we edit it next Tuesday and it's all ready, then the next question is. Getting it out.
Do they trust us?
Yeah.
I don't think you need,
We trust her.
I don't think you need approval.
Okay, now we got that.
The group as a whole to get it out. You guys make those edits, we want to press send.
Yeah, so
Do we have to
the
vote?
piece would be if there was a link and I want to make sure we're doing this one part right. So if we sent the link and used everyone's town email and said, please send this to your friends. I don't want to mix that in, so would we need their outs? Would that, they want to paste and copy it and then use their own private Gmail, or not, or, okay, but not use the town, right? That's not. Wait, what's one?
You can use.
Either way,
You can send it, I would say you can send it out from.
The town.
Yeah.
You can, okay.
like I'm gonna cut and paste it and send it to my other email, because that's where I have my. so-
Yeah, that's what I thought I would do too, but I just wanted to, yeah, okay. So if we're meeting next Tuesday, we can get it all set. And then, so you would see an email from us on Tuesday night or Wednesday, depending on when we finish, and then you can start sending it.
Well, and then that would, Jeff, when do you need information like this to get into a Thursday?
Sorry, I don't do well on one ear, so I have to look at.
Oh,
So I'm looking that way. if I'm in.
You need this to get into the Thursday.
I can send direct email every time. Yeah, that's part of the bus, right? Send direct email.
Oh, that's great.
So don't worry
So
about
just
packets.
everybody else to worry about a package, something looking at
Direct
that.
email everybody.
That's wonderful, okay.
and then Christine, how long does it take to get a bus?
I don't need to send it.
So then how long, what, the one piece we didn't know or settle on is logistically. So that is Tuesday. The link will be ready for Wednesday. We're gonna be hitting into Memorial Weekend. How long do we kind of want to let this run?
Wouldn't it be great if we had some results for our next meeting?
That's what I was thinking. I would like it to run, I know I was, when we were meeting, I was on the long end of it. But I would like it to run in June of the week, because I just think people are busy and you might send it out and. Thanks, sir.
June 7th,
June 7th?
yes.
When's the last day of school?
15th.
I mean, we can leave it open. There's no reason why we can't look at like interim reserve floats on the 7th.
That's a good point.
Close it up on the 15th or whatever.
And
I would see that.
Let's wait till the last day of school, be open to the last day of school, how about that?
Well, I would,
That's a month.
yeah, I honestly, we're gonna get the most results, I think, in the first 2 weeks here. You know, so if we even
Sure.
say June 6th, and then to your point, the school building committee.
Well, so that goes out to the demographic of the schools. Right, we still have to get it out to the other
Exactly.
population, right, with that, with local business engagement, so we've got to think about that too, right? Like,
Right.
it goes to
Yeah.
parents, parents do it in 2 days, and then, okay, we've got that demographic, so then. right, we got it.
I think ultimately, right, you can get a, like, hometown weekly patch is getting reposted everywhere on Facebook. So then, so I think it's gonna get the circles, you've got a lot of them at that point,
Mhm.
right, so. Council on Aging, a couple other institutions in town, like, you cover those off, and then,
And
you would talk about, flyers of all the
I
businesses.
mean, then, but do we have enough, do we have a sample size big enough at that point that? If we don't, then we go to the town, and businesses, or. I'm just kind of
Yeah,
understanding.
I just wanna make sure that we have a representative enough touch, right? You know, you're gonna have schools, like, if all we do is get feedback from people that get to schools, like, we haven't done.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think. Is that patch, hometown weekly, council on aging, and a couple other. The organizations I know we're tracking, we gotta just.
Like Newmantown we mentioned too.
so if on the 24th here, you know, it's ready. We know we're going into Memorial Weekend. I think it's kind of like a soft launch, it's available. So we ready to PR this the week of the May, you know. This week, right after the. Yeah. I mean, and you can do it at any time, you don't have to wait, but to your point. the local business and-
Well, then we were talking about Medfield Day and all that kind of stuff too, right? I mean, maybe a QR code of Medfield Day, but, I don't know.
I mean, if I have this
Right.
link, I can get a QR code. If we had, I can print 500 8.5 by 11s, and we could hand them out on that day, or like, I don't know.
Got a Memorial Day parade too.
Yeah, I would hope we'd have more surveying or a different survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little late. Yeah, it's a little late.
I
Yeah,
guess.
I agree. But generally like, maybe at the council on aging, we want that in 2 weeks though. How do we get it to those people? Like,
Yes.
that's awesome that we can get it to all the school parents. It's amazing. But we need more.
So we do hard copies of the conservation, and if we do like the surveys, we plan, we do hard copies. We don't get a lot back, but we give them an opportunity.
I think, have you volunteered to?
Yep.
She's.
I am.
All right, the other thing is for you to tell, really telling other people, like, please forward this. Like, if you're, we should put, maybe we'll write a little blurb next week about whatever everyone here can use in their email, like, we can all use the same blurb. And then the link, and the blurb would say, if you're part of a group in town, please forward this to your group, like, so that.
Yeah.
That's the way to really branch.
We're also all on a bunch of committees in town. So.
Yep.
Make sure that they have them and then they have their contacts, right?
Right.
Should we put a note in the survey saying that at the bottom?
And the thank you also.
Thank you, please, forward this to.
We can put that in, we can put that in.
Yeah.
And if you were going to, or coming up, select board meeting, could also announce it there. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be an update I would have for sure.
Yeah, that would be an update. I don't know what the meeting schedule, but.
Okay, we'll formalize the plan. And I
Yeah,
think
you let us know, but
Yeah.
I'm all aboard. I think that like. You guys have done a tremendous job, like meeting and getting this together today. Now it's incumbent on the rest of us to help you push it. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for, I know you guys are really, it's really helpful. This is like actionable stuff that we're
Yeah.
writing. Thank you.
Just for clarity on the masthead then, are. It won't be ready for this, because we'll be sending it out next week. If we're doing. It'll be for the future, if we're doing it with kids. So do you want Robert to do something, we put it on here, or you want to just hold that and explore the kid idea?
Hey, Steve, you want to run create this new school building committee logo contest at your school?
Good to me.
But you have to make sure it's not Dale centric. Otherwise, we're defeating the purpose of what we said earlier.
Let's talk about it. I think the question would be like, is now the right time to do it, or would you rather do it in September when kids are back?
It might be hard to run it right now.
Yeah.
With there's so few days left, if we want to get it, I could tie in with the art teacher.
Yeah.
And we could do it that way, and then what we do for the yearbook, and we're actually gonna do for one other thing, is we could have a committee that brings it down to 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 things. And then have the kids do Google form to let them participate in the election process.
Okay. So I think we could have an interim something for now, and then.
Yeah.
We thought it was good. It could be a great way to kind of kick off get momentum in the fall going into the end.
I love it.
Why don't we aim for our Medfield Day? Group?
Sure.
And it'd be kids.
What is Medfield Day? So they'll have a little bit of time, about 3 weeks or so in school. So Steve, you missed the beginning and that's fine, but just to fill you in a bit, we had, like, we're not sure what to call the school, like, we're stuck on Dale Street School, but our new elementary school is kind of boring. And, we're thinking about having some sort of like recognizable, like, brand. With a color, something behind it, you know what I mean, that just like every time you see it, oh, that's the committee for the school. That was the whole goal. So. And then the other great idea is have one of the students design it, because why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could do 2 different things. You could have the students design it like that, or if you wanted to go with the Medfield M, and then have the kids create the slogan in front of that too. So either or would be fine.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's just,
What do you guys decide?
Yeah, I
Those
think
would be
you're
2
right.
options to.
All right.
okay. All right, so we'll have a goal of something like it by in September to do that.
Yeah, to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
For the
Rob,
temporary
you have to
banner,
hook.
well, not entirely, right? I'm creating a temporary one.
Yeah.
So in the temporary one, what's the name?
SBC, just gotta get SBC up there.
Is it elementary project
Well,
SPC?
Don't we want like new elementary school. Or elementary school projects.
That's one of the ones I'm looking at. The website that is suggested we go to. It's the Medfield Elementary School project. That was used.
Take two.
Take two.
Part two.
The next, the next generation.
Yeah. It still
So
rings
that's
true, so whatever, honestly, I am not very creative when it comes to this stuff.
It's two best.
So I will literally be like, I'm sure it's gonna be awesome.
We table this decision, I think that like. I have a contact that does this work for other towns. And kind of maybe we could survey them and see what other towns and. What their approach is for this kind of thing. What they're calling their new projects, you know.
Well, we'll just leave it, like, we're, the survey is gonna be.
Surveys,
Break
let's
by
just
the
get it out.
artwork. We'll get it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. It does bring up, I have no idea what the governance or the path is. But one of the things that always kind of like. Was in the back of my mind in the last process is that it was a little bit of a faceless project in terms of. There was no name. And like. You joked earlier about, names for a school, right? Like. Just food for thought. I don't know at what point you would get to the naming process. I don't know who owns the naming rights, if it's a school committee, if it's a select board, if it's a town. School committee. I'd like,
Input from the select board and the store deciding.
yeah, so like, I wouldn't want the name to torpedo it, but like, if there was a path forward on the name, I think. Like, the project having a name, would just make it a lot more real. So, food for thought.
Project.
Like Westwood has got the Pine Hill Elementary School is what they're going with, and it's being built, so I'm just, you know.
So like, that's like, 7 meetings down the road, but.
Yeah.
That was,
But I think it could be a good idea at some point.
that was several years down the road. for
Totally,
Pine-
yeah,
For Pine Hill.
yeah, I'm saying, it just helps. Oh, okay, I know what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and part of it will be hard in this whole process is if you. It's easy if it's not at Dale, because. Then you're talking new school and name or whatever, but if it ended up at Dale. Dale Street School, so then there's that. But that'll be a little confusing, the whole.
Would we, if we did a renovation, would you rename it?
Yeah, and that would be a big.
Yeah.
That'd be something that school committee would have to spend. A lot of time. So yeah, it'd be-
And I'm not looking for it to cause controversy,
No,
I'm looking
no,
for it
no.
to read it to a path
I'm
forward.
looking at it, yeah.
If there's something out there, if not,
Yeah.
Yeah,
people want to steal my truth.
but they say kids need school.
Well, right now, the official name of the existing school is Dale Street, right? But if you call it something like the new Dale Elementary School and just keep out the word street with that.
Yeah.
As a possibility, well, don't go there, like you said, 6-7 weeks, maybe down the line.
Maybe we can run a contest and get donors. Raise more money for it, and they get to name it. There you go. Crafts.
It wasn't originally the Dale Street School either. It's the. Then Adams High School.
Do we have anything else we want to?
No, I think,
The communications, like Bill, you were writing that.
Mike, I
Great
shared
long.
Yeah,
with you, I wasn't sure if we were gonna distribute it out or how we wanted. I think Christine was, I'm just still looking for a little bit of guidance in terms of.
I know, I just got back from vacation last night.
Yeah, no, that wasn't like you didn't do it, that was like more just like I want to make sure.
why don't you just tell everybody about a little bit, the general gist of it.
I
But that was great, so.
one of the things I struggled with from last time was that, like, in going through all the data that was out there on the, on the historic site, like this narrative that there was a lack of communication, like, I kind of disagree with. There was people who didn't pay attention. Like, there are reams and reams and reams of data and pamphlets and brochures that were out there and meetings that it just, people didn't care until the last minute. And, you can say we've had kind of one community member at our meetings. Like, people don't care. And I think, like, so the question becomes, especially like as we think about the communications, right, is like, how do you start to split between people? And I think, newsletters and leaflets are good. Like, my personal point of view is that, like a more personal kind of narrative storytelling that brings together the what and the why. Where you have a cadence where, you know, it's in the hometown weekly, you know, once a month. Like, yeah, as I think about the narrative for this meeting today, like it's, you know, we spent some time today, we spent a lot of time working on the survey. We're trying to find the balance of community feedback is so important, but we want to make sure we get it right with every step of the way. Like, you know, a survey is going to be coming out. We really hope you participate. But you know, as we look to make progress, here's another little step along the way that we're doing, and you know, we hope that you'll give consideration. Right, just a little bit of the kind of like positive kind of narrative of, you know, what we did, why we did it, and what we're looking for.
And also, here we are. Like, we're here,
I'm here.
you know, this is creative.
So I don't know. I mean, I can. I'm kind of reluctant to throw it up and have everybody read it live, but I can also, like, I don't know what the proper way to share it is.
You need to share it here.
What's that?
You need to share it here. I would do that here.
If we wanted to,
Like, Bill couldn't send that out, that email out to everybody. For deliberation.
how about if, no, that's fair. What about,
If
what
we
if
share it now.
what if he wrote it himself?
Share it now.
What if he wrote it himself and just sent it to hometown weekly?
No,
I-
Well, yeah, this
That's
is,
a larger discussion I think we need to have.
this was what the,
Okay.
just for the benefit of the team, right?
Yeah, I don't wanna I wanna make sure we're doing it right too, so.
This is the questions were kind of like, you know, does it need to be me, does it need to be from me or the committee? Like, I'm happy to do it, like, I'm happy to have people take turns doing it, like, I
I
think.
think the
collectively we
ownership
do
should be shared,
Yeah,
just because. Candidly, it's once a year for all of us.
but I think it's like, I don't know, like, I think it'd be good for people to like put their personal perspectives on it. But people also have to like be very balanced in terms of how they do it. Like, I would love to be able to say in the narrative that like, hey, we had a really rich discussion, you know, the committee struggled between certain members had a point of view of X and others had a point of view of Y. Right, it takes a lot of trust among us for people to be balanced in terms of like, if you're gonna communicate that, like,
Mhm.
you're not gonna take sides or do it. Like, right, you know, luckily we haven't had any kind of significant disagreements at this point. But
We will eventually.
yeah, no, I totally expect we will.
So we made a thought, Christine, I'm glad here. If on our school building committee webpage, I looked at the model you're going for, which is good, I think it's agenda meeting. If we had something specific we wanted on that, like kind of meeting narrative updates, thoughts or something, and could the person put it in just for our page, and then people would click it, and then there would be the narrative for what's going on.
So I think what you need to do is the committee as a whole would have to vote to give that authority to the subcommittee. So that you wouldn't need to bring it back to the board committee for permission to do that, and then you can post it on either place.
Okay. That's yes, all right, so we need that.
So what?
But-
Alright.
No, please.
No, you start.
No, it's just like. I don't, that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery, right?
Yeah.
That's a slippery.
I was thinking,
Sorry, okay. Go ahead.
no, I was just thinking that, after one of our meetings, and someone wanted to just write up sort of, yeah, you know, it is a slippery, yeah, it's a slippery slope, because if you write something that goes up, and then people say, wait, that wasn't really how I interpret that discussion. Now that's not, we're not gelling there.
It could
So
almost
maybe-
be, you have to like, it's almost be as a regurgitation of the approved meeting minutes.
Yeah,
And that's what I like, it's published minutes, it's like, it doesn't. You want to put it up or no?
Oh, I don't care. Hold on.
I would just, you know, I would hope that the SBC will consider this time around to do what Westwood did and hire a PR firm during this process. To kind of help them out with communication, so it's not just completely done by volunteers. They allocated money in their feasibility study and all that other funding they got from the town, and they had someone doing a lot, almost all of their communications for them. And I think, it certainly helped them out, and I think that everyone has another job and works, and, there are things that come up where, you don't have the time to do it, and it might be a couple of days too late to get something else because something else appears somewhere else, and, just having that PR person that they're dedicated to the communication that you guys want to get out there was really helpful for Westwood. So I would just hope you might consider that as a move.
Agreed. Some more thought.
So the reason I wasn't shared mostly is because I was sort of having a discussion about it, and I also didn't know that they're. You know what I mean? Like, I was gonna go. So, to Jeff's point, I 100% agree. I don't know what the timing of that would be, as far as when. Because they don't really have much to report, other than we're here, we're meeting, we're trying. The survey is important, and a PR firm could certainly help with that. But is that money well spent? Listen, we gotta try it on our own, I think, for that part, right?
Jeff, do you have any idea what they spent?
Both 12,000.
For the whole process? That's it?
For how many years? Like.
So they like we do have someone we have a contract with, so he takes after come out, they take care of it. So they just added to that contract, and that person had to do just SBP
Okay.
as part of it. So in addition to their contract, they already had.
Do we have a PR firm for the town, I assume, already?
No,
We have a school.
From the school side, you do? Is it like retainer you guys like, or is it a contract?
It is, but it's. I'm not sure it'd be the best for this. I mean, I think you really need someone dedicated. There are some that just do building projects for towns. We want to look at someone like that.
It was really that, I would say we should get one ASAP and we're starting, we're trying to get feedback.
Usually to be on a retainer.
They
so
could be on a
then
retainer.
We could control that to some
Right.
extent anyways.
Yeah.
And if we think it's getting out of hand,
Then we say that, but they came to meetings and already they even get a newsletter we can post on our webpage. And then they're like, okay, you should do this at Medfield Day. I mean, why wait?
I was just thinking dollars and cents when I said wait. That was the only real reason I had behind it.
If it's, I mean, that seems like cheap money. To me.
It was
I'd
more
like
of an
to
add-on.
really understand what they got for 12,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, that seems really low for what we are, like, for expectations of what I would have. Because I'm thinking what we're saying is we need somebody to ghostwrite. Be here at the meeting to ghostwrite the story.
Or listen to
And
the
that would-
online.
or something like that. But even as such, that's time
That's what,
and energy, that seems low.
Yes, that's even.
but that doesn't mean, we can't explore the possibility.
I would think we want to at least have a budget, whether it's 4,000 or 10,000, because let's face it, this is gonna take a long time. And if we can at least get a quote from a few firms. And with a price not to exceed based on the information we give them. Just to see if we're in the right ballpark.
I can start exploring between our next meeting and get back to you guys. And I'm sure I'll reach out to you guys individually. If anyone has thoughts individually, please email me. And then I've got a couple ideas already. So that'd be great. Great job, subcommittee communications. I think it's a good start. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Kind of leading the charge thus far for the whole committee. So again, I don't want to. You guys done a lot of work, so thank you. And you put a lot of thought into it. So. All right. Robert. How are you?
I'm a little tired, but I'm good. Tuesday.
Can we come visit you?
Sure, you can come visit whenever you want.
So,
I'm going to try to get our essentially like in Foxborough, there was one gentleman who works for the schools but lives in town. He's our business manager slash facilities manager. And he's chaired every school, not only school, I'm sorry, but town building project for the past 20 years. So whenever we meet, I'm gonna try to have him attend with us. He can answer a lot of questions about the process that I was not a part of. So ideally, he would be a part of it, but if not, you'll always get to see the school.
when's a good time to visit your school? Like,
We're talking like evenings.
my gut tells me, bringing it up here because I think it's important for all of us. I was gonna stop by myself, like I said prior, but then I kind of rethought that and I said, you know what? Michelle saw it, and I think that's great, but I kind of want to, the best we can to see, get to go see the whole, right? I remember the last time we did this, some of the members walked, was it the Cindy V. Williams and Needham, maybe that was being built at the time? And I never even knew that they went, I kind of wanted, I wanted to see them school. And since you're giving us that opportunity, I think it'd be great. So I would say when the kids are out of school, but before summertime would be best case as far as I'm concerned. That way,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, that makes sense as far as like you get to see like. I don't want to get in the way of your janitorial staffs and stuff like that, number one, and number two, you want to see stuff on the walls and like, I don't know, it's what a school should look like.
Yeah.
So, anybody have any? I mean, my schedule is absolutely not so, but I would tell you,
Were you thinking evening?
I was thinking probably evening just because we have day jobs. And again, if we can't make it, I don't think it's the end of the world, but he's offered, and I think it's a good opportunity. So that's all.
Robert, is there a day of the week that's better?
No,
Or you
not
prefer-
necessarily. I mean, I can. Whatever. I mean, I can make most evenings work. We do have like some events, but I have them all here. So
What's your last day of school?
our last day of school is June 16th.
And I don't really even care if it's before our next meeting or not. It could be. And I don't think it needs to be more than an hour either,
Well,
personally, but
they're getting out the 16th. Did you say you do want to see it at evening, but when there's
that was just my.
things up on the wall?
That was my preference,
How about the 31st? On Wednesday.
but I can't do that,
Yes, the 31st.
but I could do the first.
The first, June 1st.
The first weeks.
That's the committee.
We will likely be moving with that. So we're getting rid of that one. We get rid of school first. We may not have a meeting that night. We won't know until after Thursday though.
Okay.
I think Friday's probably a bad day to do it.
How about June 5th, the Monday? Be two
Was the first.
2 days before our meeting.
There was a school committee meeting. first.
No, I think Chief said there was a high
Is that
school.
Rosemary? You guys go to that at the high school?
That's the other.
The 5th is out, but
That's June 1.
most other days. we will.
6th.
Probably do the sixth. Could we do it earlier in the evening too?
We could do it earlier. Yeah, I have a rain date for an event that day, but we're meeting on the 7th.
But it doesn't have to be,
You want to do it instead of a meeting? So we got that time cut out.
That's a good idea.
But you guys were gonna, well, I don't know if that doesn't affect. We were
Was
starting
that-
that meeting at 8 PM that night for some reason.
There were things going on.
Right,
like-
that's what it is.
The 30th, if we go back to the
Evening, the 30th.
hold on a second.
Band concert.
30th is like, I don't know, I did do it for you.
I mean, if people can't make it, if the
That's
majority
what
of
I'm
people can
thinking
make it, you can stop by anytime you want, like Michelle did, and that's not, you know.
Gonna try to do it on Tuesday the 30th then?
Sure, that works for me.
See your time.
You wanna do it like 6?
6 works.
Like, I'm just gonna throw it out there, that for the committee, the Dale Street has art show that night from 6 to 7:30, so. You guys can definitely go, I just don't think I could go at 6. 'Cause I don't
Okay.
see this-
Yeah.
I don't have to be at the whole art show, but I do wanna make sure that I.
Yeah, of course. I get that.
I'm gonna have to go a different day, because I'll be at like band concert, so maybe you and I can find another time, that Robert can take us.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, why don't we just. All right, why don't we, does that work? The 30th?
It doesn't for me, but.
Doesn't. Does it work for you?
Get you in on the.
You can
Wednesday,
coordinate,
babe.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, fine with that.
First,
How about the first? What did we say about the first? Michelle, you've already seen it, right?
I have already seen it,
So if you have a school committee meeting,
well, we were gonna vote to change it on Thursday, but we haven't. done that.
you're gonna vote to change the meeting on the first to a different day.
Correct. We haven't done that yet.
But if you-
Technically, this is what's published.
But if you do have a meeting on the
Here's
first, and you and Kristen would be the only ones technically, right?
And Jeff.
And I'll be over the woods.
I'm out of town that week.
Either way, we're probably gonna have to do 2 trips.
Yeah.
All right, so let's leave the 30th. How many people can make the 30th?
I can make it, but it's, the first is better. How many can make the first?
how about pushing it out just to, right on the 6th, the day before?
About the 8th. The 6th or the 8th.
Just get so busy.
Quarter mile.
I mean, I'll throw this out there too, like on. Like Sunday morning, I'm willing, I mean, I know that sounds crazy, right? But like, we all have day jobs and we're tired at night and like, I would do a weekend. I mean, honestly, whatever works for everybody. That's about it.
Well, that's an interesting thought. What if this, can you get in there on Saturday? You're all right with that?
My weekends are like, I had 7 baseball games this weekend, so.
So let's just pick for a date, then, that's fine.
Yeah.
So the 30th would be one day.
I mean, I just wanted to see it, so.
But Mike, if that doesn't work for you, let's just pick another one that works for you and then.
I don't think I'm more important than you. No one else. I appreciate that. I heard a bunch of people on vacation now. You were out that week.
And I'm gonna, actually, the next meeting, I'll probably be in Missouri. Participating in the several weeks. So,
Okay.
What about next week? Like 23rd, 25th?
Um,
23rd, we have a communication committee meeting, the 24th or 25th,
Monday, the 22nd.
the second's done.
Yes.
I'll do the 22nd.
There we go.
22nd.
Ooh, 22nd.
Wow, this is.
Looking
only
good.
that.
We need to post this.
That is not included.
Robert, what time is best for you?
Yeah, I mean, while it's still light, it would be nice so you can see the ground
Sure.
and kind of some of the exterior work that's been done. So
5:30, 6? something
6
like
would be
that?
fine.
6?
And are we, everyone's just driving and meeting there then on at 6?
Yeah, do you mind just shooting us
Yes.
an email, to the group?
It'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna look
We like to like dinner afterwards or no? Is that illegal? Can we do dinner after or is that illegal?
Tell on it.
If not,
That's who
We
we
need to
find.
be in a public place.
yeah, that place is great. I know.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
That's
Glen Park.
as long as it's less than that, let's stay.
Well, we said two different tables.
What, delivery? Can we get delivery?
Delivery, yeah.
They should have on the tabs. All right, thank you for that. All right, so, we'll get the address. I don't think it needs to be like a, honestly, just what you do every day as far as how to use the space. You know, what was there before, one of those things, you know, just.
Yeah, if the guy who I described, if he's not able to come with us, I mean, any questions that you have, I can have answered afterwards too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure that this will generate a lot of questions.
I think it's great that we just get our eyes on something that we could have and will have. You know,
Yeah.
all right, thank you for that. Got anybody online, public comment section? I don't think we do, right?
No, nothing.
Chris is the only community member.
Yeah, I was just gonna throw some things out with regards to just some quick reactions on the survey, and then also just a couple other just observations. What I would say is when you guys decide whatever name you're gonna use, I would just recommend going with something that will be consistent no matter where you use it, because there was just a lot of confusion last time, because even before the last SBC really got up and running, like before the designer and architects, you know, the OPM was hired, the posting, like even on the town website, was under, like, it kept changing different names, so it was fairly difficult to find the meetings.
Sure.
So it got to be very confusing. So I think if you're gonna wanna have people be able to tune in, you're gonna wanna have a consistent name throughout the whole project from beginning to end, just so people can then know what to look for, no matter whether it's a survey or a meeting notice or whatever. So that was just an observation. I think also too, I mean, not speaking as a PR person with 30-some years of experience, and I would say if you're gonna look at a PR firm, you really have to make a decision whether you want someone to be strategic or tactical. Because you can have somebody that, or tactical. Because you could have somebody that can come in and say, geez, here's your master PR plan, how to engage the community. Or they could just be an order taker and deal with one person who says, we had this meeting, we want you to write about that. So I think that's a decision that the committee really should talk about, because there are two different paths that you can take. And I think if you go the tactical route, you're gonna have to figure out who's gonna be that point person, who's gonna be the liaison, basically, the PR firm, to give that firm direction, to review things, to, you know, how much authority is that person gonna have? It's just a lot of things to think about.
Okay.
I also think that, yeah, I think because with PR, it's sometimes it's just a danger of what you don't know, you know, so it just, that person can give you a lot. If you use the person in a more strategic fashion, you can probably get maybe some more insights.
Yeah,
That
I'm
might be
leaving.
more helpful.
That sounds.
Yeah. On this survey, there's just a couple of really small, I thought, oh, great. Couple things that jumped out at me. You might want to separate out Patch and Hometown Weekly, because they both might want to have them as separate answers instead of grouped together, because they have separate different audiences. It'll help you, I think, in the future, figuring out, you know, where you're getting your leadership from. It'll give you better data. I also think that the one that jumped out at me, you guys did a great job with the ranking of the considerations in terms of the balanced, you know, unbiased wording. The one that I think is a little bit slanted, biased, is the construction disruption to student education. It might be better to say construction impact on students, because I feel like it's almost like a double.
What about just disruption overall? It's not necessarily, yeah.
You might say
It's a disruption.
What did
Yeah,
it say?
exactly.
Impact identifies everything. Okay,
Right.
I think it's a
Yeah.
softer word, I guess, you want to call it that.
Yeah, I just think you need something a little.
I just
bit
want to
more-
read it again. Hold on a second.
Sorry, I left the meeting, but.
Oh, okay. You want to read it out loud?
It was
Because I went into edit mode to get some of the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, you mean you were working?
But that just, it just.
Thank
And
you.
it
jumped
said
out- it jumped out
construction
right at that
disruption
right
to
after.
students' education,
Disruption.
disruption. It's a little bit longer and everything, so.
I think we just
Impact
This-
students.
impact the students due to construction or something like that, you know what I mean, just like something straightforward.
Right. How about, you don't even have to say student, just say construction impact
It
to
impacts-
education.
I mean, it impacts everybody, right?
Right.
It impacts
Yeah, you
Impacts
gotta-
everybody.
you gotta-
parents, the neighbors and everything, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
It does,
But that was also a consideration for parents.
but I think the student can,
Remember, we have our other.
You do.
Yeah. I think it's. Construction impact to students.
I mean, you could just say either construction disruption and leave it at that. Or you could say construction impact on students. But doesn't impact teachers too.
Students, teachers, sure.
Construction impact on education.
Well, it involves other things.
They're gonna get poor education.
Why don't you
if
play with
they
it?
go.
If you don't mind, but I think, yeah, this,
We'll decide before we launch.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I just figured I'd flag that, because that was the only one that jumped out at me.
It could be spot. Remind me when the. Next meeting is, look at that, with every word there.
The only other thing too is that, I don't know whether you really need to say town, when you talk about the bill, or whether you really need to say town meeting specifically. You might want to just take town meeting out. It was more, what made me think about that was going to, Mather's question about. Your comment about the other, like what could be the other, and because people just didn't go to town meeting, but there was also the election vote.
There was that
So if we just take out town meeting, then really cover all your bases.
overall vote.
So we could just say the town voted down the proposed new elementary school building, we take out May, the year, and use the word meeting, so just take out 3 words. The town voted down the proposed new elementary school building. What, yeah.
I mean, you can put the year in there just to kind of remind everybody, but that's all.
Real forget.
I know now.
That was it.
Can I ask you some questions? So as a person who does send a newsletter out to the town. If you don't feel comfortable sharing the numbers, like what kind of engagement is a good range? You know, what kind of numbers do you see on people clicking the links on your website?
So I have right now, about 1,400 subscribers.
Okay.
I have, anywhere between the 78 and 80% open rate,
Open rate, okay,
which is really high.
yeah, and so open rate means the email gets opened in the inbox, and then,
Click-through rate, I have anywhere, depending on the article, anywhere between 10 and 16%.
of the open rate, so it's, okay, 10 or 60% of the 70, okay.
And what's interesting too is that it skews much more toward laptops, like computers versus hand. So I know the readership is on the older side. Like it's
Okay,
not necessarily in schools, it's mostly, it's a lot of.
Yeah, people with laptops and not cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
well, I mean, I don't know, people might like, you know, my desk computer too, so.
Yeah, but my kids don't even get on computers for one thing.
Yeah, but your kids getting town emails.
Well, I just
Probably they didn't delete them.
Totally the feedback that I've gotten is that it tends to skew much more to the older.
Got it.
Versus.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What's your adjourn?
Second.
Can you do that? Well done.
Yeah, that works for me. All in favor? Okay, there was a motion on the table to adjourn and
And a second?
a second by Mather, all in favor?
We
Oh, we
need
have to do it now, we have to do roll
Now we
call.
gotta-
Well,
Opening.
we got a jar, I got a
Put in the jar.
Aye.
Bill Werner, aye.
Kristen Sunini, aye.
Bob Meany, aye.
It's James, yes. Michelle Turfia.
Yes.
I probably yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.